What's up, family? Thank you for tuning in to the DreamNation podcast. My name is Casanova. I'll be your host, and I'm excited to be bringing to you entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and trailblazers from around the world. Stay locked in with us because we're about to go on a journey that will change your life. All right, what's up, DreamNation? Today on the line, we got my man, Lamar Tyler. First off, I want to allow him to say what's up because I'm super excited. He's about to drop a lot of nuggets. So, Lamar, you want to say what's up to DreamNation?
Sure. Hey, what's going on, DreamNation? Excited to be here and excited to share a little bit of my story and hopefully encourage you guys in the process.
That's exactly what we want to hear. So I always like to start it off by asking, before TSP Live, before helping hundreds of business owners get their start, before being featured in so many different publications and crushing it, tell me, if you can go back 30, 35 years, even just when you were a little boy, tell me, who is Lamar Tyler?
I say Lamar Tyler is a entrepreneur, right? I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was young. I don't know what age immediately that started at, but I wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was young. So I say I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a hustler, right? One of my things is I say no matter what, I'm going to make it happen. So whether that's for my family, whether it's for my employees, whether it's for my business or my community, I'm going to make it happen. And then the third thing I would say is I'm a visionary. I believe totally in me having a vision, right? Me being able to kind of lead people through that. And developing into a leader amongst leaders. And that's who I am. That's who I want to be. And that's what I want to develop other people to do as well.
God, I love it. I love it. So let's go back. When you first started out, did you grow up with entrepreneurship in your family? Was your dad a business owner, mom a business owner? How did it all come up? Or did you just kind of, you found some opportunities, some flaws when you were growing up, some things that you could, capitalize on?
Yeah, not at all. Didn't grow up around entrepreneurship, didn't see entrepreneurship, didn't know any entrepreneurs. I grew up in a single family home in Prince George's County, Maryland, outside of DC. Shout out to PG. And I didn't see entrepreneurship, but it was just something about it that called me to it. And, from a young age, from, cutting grass with my man Greg up the street, and that's creating flyers and putting them in mailboxes and trying to figure out ways to make extra revenue, extra capital so we could get sneakers and clothes or just have money to do what we wanted to do, into becoming a teen, and then running into Black Enterprise magazine somewhere and seeing that and seeing all these Black faces on the cover of that magazine that exemplified what excellence looked like, that talked about these massive businesses that they had built and how they did it. Me dreaming that one day I'll be on the cover of that magazine, which I'm still shooting for. Shout out to Black Enterprise. I'm still working towards that. The dream still exists, but looking then and saying, wow, I can create something like this. And then really beginning just to, even like I said, at a young age, as a teen in my early 20s, being able to start to develop myself through reading and getting materials. Because since I didn't see it around me, that didn't mean I didn't have access to learn how to do it. And what that looked like to me was, like I said, Black Enterprise magazine. It looked like picking up books and reading about wealth creation, reading about investing, reading about money, reading about business, things I didn't have inherently right around me, things I didn't have necessarily conversations about with people around me, but the information was there. And that was pre-internet. So, I don't know, we ain't supposed to get to this part yet, but I'm like,
no, I'm loving it.
If I could do that back then, you ain't got no excuse not to do that right now with Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google, YouTube, and everything else. All the secrets and clues are out there.
Man, that's what I tell people all the time. You're going to invest one of two things. You're going to invest your time or you're going to invest your money, right? So you got to. But with YouTube University, just like you said, it's no secret. There's no secrets. They're already uncovered. You just got to be willing to put in the grind. So I love that you were doing it, like you said, pre-internet, because nowadays people say I'm too busy. But I tell people all the time, if nothing changes, nothing will change. You got to find between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. or 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. You got that 2 hours. You can wake up a little bit earlier before that 9 to 5 kick in, and you can make something happen.
Right. So and that's our story really of how my wife and I, how we built our business, which I'm sure we'll talk about, in a second. But that's totally what we had to do. So what I tell people all the time is that everybody has these lofty goals and ambitions of how much money they want to make and what they want to build. But the question I ask them, number one question, Casanova, is, are the actions that you're taking now matching up with the dreams that you say you want? I want to build $1 million business. Are you putting in $1 million worth of effort? I want to build a 6-figure business. Are your ideas 6-figure ideas with 6-figure actions attached to them? Because anybody can dream, but at some point you got to put, the rubber meet the road, and you got to put something to it to actually implement and make those dreams begin to happen.
Right. No, facts. That's why we call it DreamNation. And that's why Proud to have you on here. So let's get into it. Talk to me about your first business that you started, like your first real, business where you said, you know what? Because did you start out? Did you ever work for someone else and then learn the ropes, or you just jumped right in heavy?
Sure. No, I had a lengthy corporate career, right? Over about 15, 16 years. I had an information technology background where I did that. I knew early on that I wanted to create a career where I could live comfortably while I figured the entrepreneurship part out. Because like I said, I didn't have somebody around me teaching me, showing me this is what it was. So I went into information technology and IT, and grew that there, right? The first thing I did is, even in IT, I was, running a business. I was an independent contractor, didn't take permanent jobs for most of my career, only worked 1099. We'll work only with somewhere 3 to 6 months, because as entrepreneurs, right, we get kind of tired of doing the same thing every day, especially when we just in a monotonous routine. And what it took is, I developed that business, kind of worked for myself, was like a hired gun, would go in and do different things, saw a lot of the country, like we were talking about, right? Saw a lot of the country, got to travel and see a lot of different things. And then from there, I had other businesses, partnered with some guys around some IT companies, didn't like how things shook out. We were making money, but it didn't, other business partners didn't seem ethical. So I had to back out of that. One point I was doing party promotions and events. Another point, I had a family business where we owned several dump trucks and ran dump trucks and dirt, gravel, pea gravel, sand, back and forth across the DMV, right? So a lot of different things. But what I found out is that everything I did led to this point. And every piece of experience, for how I managed the drivers and learning how to actually manage employees with the dump trucks, helped me actually manage a team right now in my business. What I did with the parties and events helps me that when I put on a conference like TSP Live, I know how to market to get people in the seats. I know how to build buzz to make it exciting, to get people there. I know the assets I need to pull out of it so that I can push and monetize on the next event. So everything, I'm a big believer in that, man. Everything that happens for a reason. It builds you up to this point right now. The only question is, what will you do with the moment?
Man, I love it. And so the first nugget that I got out of there was collaboration. Early on, you understood. You said I partnered with a couple of IT guys, and then we started something. So you were understanding early, because that's something that us as entrepreneurs, and we all start out as solopreneurs, but it seemed like you graduated really quick to an entrepreneur. But we think we got to do everything. If it's not me, like if it can't be all me, I can't do it. Right. So you started partnering with there, and then you say you had family businesses. And the second part there, what I got out of that was exposure. So not only were you trying different things because you had an open mind with dump trucks and IT and corporate and everything, but at the same time, that allowed you to see what you didn't like, right? What wasn't going to work. So then you kept going towards the things that you did like, which then you were like, okay, I'm finally starting to find my zone. And on top of that, I've developed a whole bunch of skills, right? Like marketing, like leadership, that I can then take. And now I'm hitting all strides.
Exactly. And I think the important thing too in that is that I was tied to entrepreneurship, not to each individual business. So that allows me to kind of pivot and say, you know what, at this point, this no longer works, or it no longer serves me. So let me shift and find the next opportunity, where I feel like a lot of times we're so tied to the product we create or the service that we get into, and we love it so much, we're going to ride or die. And what happens most of the time is that we ride it until it does die. And then we don't have anything else. We don't have any resources. We've gone through all the money. We've gone through all our connections, and then we back to work. So, the main thing was that I wasn't tied to any one thing. What I was tied to was entrepreneurship. The overall umbrella is the theme. And like I said, I'm looking for opportunities in there to see, all right, what are the problems? What are the transformations people need? And what are products and services I can create to actually serve those needs?
There it is right there. We just got a nugget right there. You gotta be tied. You have to be tied to the end goal. You have to be tied to the destination, because the journey might change a lot of the times, right? You might get a flat tire or wherever it is, but if you know where you're going in the end and you stay tied to the vision, the end goal, you're gonna be all right in the end. So I love that, the fact that you shared that. So talk to me about TSP Live, the big event that you're promoting right now that you have coming up. Is this the first year you've been doing it? How many years have you been doing it, and where did the spark from?
This is the fourth annual, right, TSP Live, Traffic Sales and Profit Live Conference. And actually how it started was the business we had previous to Traffic Sales and Profit. My wife, when I got married, right, she didn't understand anything about this, me being this contractor and being a hired gun and working for myself. And she was like, all right, like what happens if you don't get picked up for a new contract? And I'm like, yeah, I got some money. I'll let it ride for a few months. Ain't a big deal. I can get something else. She's totally opposite of me, a lot more conservative. So she wasn't down for that. So what I did is I got a gig working IT department at a TV station in DC. They went heavily into the internet. And once they went into the internet, I was pitching them ideas, right? I was part of that team. We had a very successful website we created. It was the first African-American news-focused site that a major news outlet did. We were crushing, but I was pitching other ideas and they kept shooting all of them down. So at a certain point I said, I'm gonna stop giving them my multi-million dollar ideas, and I'm gonna create my own, multi-million dollar business. And what I did is I came home and I said, hey, it was something that we can create. Let's do a blog, right? Because everybody was talking about blogs at the time. People weren't making money with them yet. This was 2007. People weren't making money with them yet. We said, let's talk about doing a blog, and something that we're passionate about. So if it takes off 4 or 5 years from now, we'll still love doing it. And what we came up with was relationships. Deeper than that was marriage. Deeper than that was marriage in the Black community and how it was viewed inside and outside the Black community. So we created a blog, a website called blackandmarriedwithkids.com. That quickly took off, grew a Facebook page over 500,000 people. We started out working with many of America's largest brands when they wanted to reach Black families. And then we went from there to creating our own products. We have 7 full-length documentary films. We published 8 different books. We got ebooks, audio books, physical books, membership sites, online courses. We were doing our own, with the films, we're doing our own 7, 8, 9, 10 city tours. With each film that we released, we learned how to market and get into those areas and get into those demographics and build and scale audience year after year in those different cities like DC, Atlanta, Chicago, right? We'd be on the south side of Chicago on South 87th at the Ice House.
Yeah, I know
Chatham.
exactly what it's at.
So we were out there every year, man. I mean, and we really just learned how to build and market even more from what I'd learned in those early years to just kind of double down and build it and become even a better marketer then. And as we sold these different products, right? We did a cruise. We're doing our 4th and final cruise this year. We did cruises. We did workshops, conferences for the couples. We learned so much, and people saw us growing from the outside. They saw us building this business. So what happened, Casanova, they would come and say, hey, can I pay you to teach me how to do this? Can I pay you to coach me? Can you do a workshop or something that just teaches this one part of the business that you do? And out of those requests, eventually what was formed was traffic, sales, and profit. We help entrepreneurs do 3 things: drive more traffic, convert more sales, and grow the amount of profit in their businesses. Now, we launched that in 2015. And I just want to share this part because hopefully it inspires somebody and shows you what it takes to get to where you want to get to. We launched that in 2015. We had an audience for the married couples. We did not have an audience for entrepreneurs. And it's not the same. People think, well, you just talk that to the one audience. They ain't what the married people came for.
Right.
We try to talk entrepreneurship for him. They like, that's cool, but we ain't here for all that. Talks about communication, blended families, dealing with financial issues, all that type of stuff. They didn't want the business talk. So the first event we did was in Greensboro, North Carolina. We had a marriage event. We tag teamed the night before this business event with it, 6 people in the room. 6 people in the room, right? And we did 3 other cities after that. And I think the most we might have had was maybe 30 or 40 people in one room. The next year, that was 2015. Next year, 2016, we said we're doing a conference. It's going to be called TSP Live. We did it here in the Atlanta area. We were going to try to get 100 people in the room. A lot of people had bought a course that we sold that first year. So they had free tickets. When they bought the course, they got a free ticket. We said we're going to get 100 people in the room, and it's going to be an amazing event. We didn't get 100. We sold 67 tickets. And that was including the people with free tickets. So not even everybody that bought the course came. Right? But we still pressed on. We did it anyway. I think 40-something actually showed up. We pressed on. We did it anyway. Then the next year, we moved from 67 tickets sold to 173 sold. Then we moved from 173 to 250, and we sold out 3 months in advance. Now, we started doing events every January as well. So we went from just, once a year that we said, all right, we're going to do them every 6 months. So in January, we do an event called The Game Plan. When we sold out TSP Live with 250 people last year, 3 months early, our January event we did January this year actually sold out just under 6 months early. Pretty much as soon as we put tickets on sale, in 2-3 weeks, they were all sold out for 300 people. And now we've moved to a new hotel because this thing is growing so fast. So June 14th and 15th here in Atlanta, we've actually already sold 600 seats.
Wow.
So I'm talking about in January, we had 300 people. Now we have 600 and it's still moving. We'll have a sellout of 700 people there in Atlanta because people are hungry for deep dive information. They're hungry for not just emotion and not just I'm getting hyped up and I'm motivated, but then when I leave, all right, what did I learn? My life is still in the same spot. I'm still in the same situation. They want the deep dive of what we actually do, or what the experts that we bring to the stage do, of the case studies of how can I make this work? Like, what does this really look like to run that type of ad budget? What does it really look like when you say this converts and that doesn't convert? What does it really look like to build and scale to 6 figures, 7 figures, or even an 8-figure business? And that's what we want to do. That's what we want to bring to the people, specifically in our community, because there's been a lack of resources, a lack of education. We're not showing up at these other conferences. It's like all these other conferences have all this great information, but guess what? At all those conferences, is a lack of diversity on the stage and in the crowd. And I don't know if the chicken come first or the egg came first, but what I know at a certain point, we said, all right, if our people are not getting to these conferences and to the information, we have to bring the information to our people, and that's what we do with TSP Live.
Man, there's so many things. I felt like I had the first nugget, and then you dropped the second nugget, and then you dropped it. I'm like, hold on, brother. No, I love this. So the first thing that I got out of that was, in the beginning, nobody showed up. So one, again, you stay true to the end goal, right? So you were like, okay, the end goal is entrepreneurship and to be able to educate, impact, and influence other people. So we've already gotten the married couples. We have our lane in that, but we know that there's another lane that people are starving for the knowledge in. And we know that we can capitalize over there, serve first. So in the beginning, it was only 6 people there, but then you're like, listen, we got to keep showing up. Because in the beginning, I always say to all of my students, everybody, in the beginning, they'll ask you why you're doing it. In the end, they'll ask you how you did it, which goes to your point that you're like, hey, people started coming up to us like, hey, can you teach us how you're doing this and this and this, right? And the same thing is what's going on at TSP Live. That's why you continue to double your numbers almost every single time. And I got no doubt, with that type of a mindset, that you're going to be at 3,000, 5,000 people here very shortly in a conference. And then you'll look back at that story, you'll say, man, on the very first event, y'all see what's going on now, but y'all didn't see when we did this and we only had 6 people in the room, but we still made sure that we served for those 6 people. We still made sure that we showed up for those 6 people. So that was so fire. Now, when you first start, how did you get the knowledge of events and everything? Like, where did that all come from? Did somebody teach you? Because it sounded like to me, and for anybody who follows, I know you and we already connected before the call about the ClickFunnels, right? But it sounded to me like you already knew you had to niche down and find a blue ocean before that was even really the term. So how did you know that? Because I think, myself included, that's where a lot of people struggle at, is like, how do I continue to niche down? Because there's so many things that I want to do and they're on a broader scale.
Sure. Well, I think, first, if I can say, I think you hit it. The last thing I talked about, I think you hit it right on the head, because that's the point I wanted to make, is that we're able to grow what we grew because we kept going when most people quit. When most people get there and they say, hey, this is going to be a great event, and there's 6 people in the room, they ready to tap out, and they don't continue going. And when they say, all right, we're going to have a conference with 100 people, only 67 register and 40 something show up, right? They defeated. And I always say is that we can get disappointed. If anybody tell you they never reach disappointment in business, they lying to you, right? So we can get disappointed, but we don't get around here is defeated. And we have to keep pushing on, right? We get up, we brush ourselves off, and we keep moving. And that's why we've been able to build something and year after year after year, keep growing this thing from, 6 people in 2015 in a little hotel room to over 600 this year, right? Already moving towards 700, is because we didn't quit. We kept pushing and we grew it. Now, in relation to your second question about how do we grow it and how do we get to know, I have a methodology I call LAO, Launch, Analyze, Optimize. And what it looks like is we didn't know how to put on a conference at a scale that we do now. But, what I did know, like I said, years ago, I was doing parties in the DC area. So we would do parties, we do cabarets, we do events. We had go-go bands. We might have like a DJ. And those little events gave me a taste of, okay, this is what it takes to promote, get people in, to build buzz. These are the assets. Like I said, I need pictures, I need video around them so I can use that. Makes the next event easier. I need to build an email list. I need to, it gave me all like different components of event building. So what we did is we transferred that into the knowledge of when we started doing documentaries. Okay, this is how we can do our own screenings. This is how we can do not just our own screens, then our own tours, right? And the fact that after every event, what we do is we launch it, we analyze it, we optimize it. We look at what went right, we double down on that. We look at what went wrong, and we throw that away, and we keep moving. And we get into a cadence where we're constantly doing it. So I think a lot of people, the problem is they do something one time, then they worn out and they stop. And then they might come back 2 years later and they do something again, and then, it was great. Then they say, I'm gonna do something, and they don't, then they stop. They're not consistent with it. But since we were consistently putting out documentaries every single year, right? We did 4 or 5 years in a row. We put out a doc every single year, and we were constantly doing those tours over and over. It allowed us to develop our muscle in that area and audience, right, at the same time. And people, they still have people, somebody came up to me last month and said, man, I remember the first time you came to Atlanta and did a screen, and I was there in the theater when y'all still lived in Maryland. I remember that, right? And I was like, wow, because they followed along. Your audience wants to see you succeed, and they want to be there for you along the way on that ride. And they want to be the person that says, I saw them first. I was in that room, there was just 6 people, 40 people, 60 people. But the thing is to keep pushing. And then, like I said, even from the films, we launched, analyzed, optimized, took what we learned into conferences and events for the couples. Then we took that into conferences and events for what we do now. And every time we're always learning. We've never done an event as big as the event we're doing now. So we're still learning, right? It's still little bumps in the road and things we didn't foresee coming up. But the main thing we do is we always say here, right? Excellence is a standard. So we're going to operate in the level of extreme excellence. We're going to deliver on that excellence. And then once we're done, we're going to launch, analyze, and optimize. And then the January event will be even better. And that's how we keep kind of beating ourselves every single time, right? Because we want to deliver for the customer on that level.
Man, I love it. I love it. So when you're doing these events like TSP Live, is it for people who are focusing in the online space, or is it for people who are focusing in the offline brick and mortar space as well? Which one is it geared towards?
We have a combination of both that actually come out. But the underlying factor is they want to do something online. So we have brick and mortar businesses, but they're still trying to figure out, are there opportunities I can exploit online? Which the answer is always yes. So we have doctors and lawyers and coaches. We have e-com, right? People that are just totally 100% online and drop ship businesses. But the common factor is, all right, they're African-American entrepreneurs. They want to reach the next level. We have new people that are just starting out and saying, all right, I want to start right. Because a lot of people say, well, I'm afraid to come, right? It's going to be too advanced. I want to be in the advanced room. So I know what the hurdles are, what I need to look out for, and who the people I can connect with that already been where I want to go. Right. So we got new people that are already coming and saying, you know what, this is giving me the blueprint for what I need to do and how to get started. Then we have people that are coming that already have a product, they already have a service, they're already selling it in the marketplace, but they're looking to scale. And then we have large businesses coming. The amount, probably one of the fastest growing groups inside of our community are 6 and 7 figure business owners. And they're growing and they're saying, all right, I need to be able to develop to the next level. How can I develop more as a leader? How can I learn more about building teams, having meetings, the actual organization of what I need to do so that I can take this 6-figure business and get it to 7, or take this 7-figure business and get it to 8?
I love it. I love it. So there's a huge factor there, again, which a lot of the times entrepreneurs, we were talking about this as well, but entrepreneurs, they start out as solopreneurs and they can never evolve. Why? Is because they don't understand it. You got to get around osmosis. You got to get around. I've been to 6 events this year, and this is the first year that I went to events, but my ROI on it has just been ridiculous. Right? Because you get around other people that are like-minded. A lot of the times why entrepreneurs can never really level up to their true potential is because they say, I don't find enough people like me. I don't have anybody when I come back home that I can really share these ideas with. But then they don't want to go a lot of the times, or not even come back home when I'm at home that I can share these ideas with. But they don't want to go to these events, and they don't want to get around other people, and they don't want to invest in themselves. But just like you said, if you get around other 6, 7, 8-figure business owners, everybody has some type of a struggle. If you can figure out how you can serve their struggle and do some type of a partnership or JV or affiliate marketing, you might get a quicker start than you ever could on your own.
And that's, like I said, that's what most people don't realize. And I think they get caught into a cycle where I'm serving my ideas to my family. If your family's not business owners, that's not going to work. You know what I mean? Right. I'm serving my ideas. I'm getting feedback from my mama. I'm getting feedback from my brothers and my cousins, from my aunties, from my grand. Look, none of that matters. Like, you have to be able to connect, like you said, with people that understand the struggle that you're going through, to understand the highs and lows, to understand when you say, hey, I'm leaving my 9 to 5 and I'm launching this other thing, they don't think you crazy. Instead, they're cheering you on like, hey, you got this. This is going to be amazing. These are the things you need to make sure you do. And until you get yourself in a circle like that, you'll never reach your full potential. And like you said, how do you get, one of my favorite questions I hear people ask all the time is, how do I find a mentor? Right. And I love that question, because the question is wrong most of the time. Because what most people think is they want to be in their silo and expect the mentor to fall into their lap. And they want to just run into somebody that's a billionaire and they say, you know what? I like you. You got grit. By the look of you, you look like you got grit. So,
right.
come under my wing and let me show you everything. It's not how this works. So instead of waiting for somebody to just stumble in my path one day at the coffee shop, what I've decided to do, like you said, is invest in buying mentors, right? Every time I go to a conference, I'm buying access to those people on the stage. Every time I join a coaching program or a mastermind, I'm buying access to the brain power that's in that community and in that group. And you'll find that the more you invest, there's a direct correlation to how much you invest and how much return you see in your business, in the growth of your business, because until you grow, your business won't.
Man, that's a whole truth right there. So to piggyback off of that, tell me who has been your biggest influence so far in your last 3 to 4 years where your business has really been scaling and you've been impacting and influencing on the level that you want to?
You know, I'll say, I'll give a shout out to him because this is what I call it, the OG, even though he's younger than me. One of the first guys I really connected with, we were doing stuff online, but really just opened up my eyes to an entirely new world, is a good friend of mine named Jermaine Griggs. Jermaine Griggs has a amazing business right called Hear and Play Music. He's out of California, but we connected. Now, and it's funny because I'd heard about him from a friend. A friend said, "Hey, I saw this guy that's doing." He knew we were doing stuff online. So I saw this guy that's doing stuff online. He's crushing it. You know, he's killing it. And he saw him on some TV show. Then a few months later, Jermaine reached out to me. He had actually became a customer and bought some of my products and said, "Hey, you know, I got the films. I like it. I see, you know, using this software. You're doing this and that." And started giving me tips, like out of the blue, like you said, just kind of delivering value. And what I realized is that the brother was sharp and he was smart. And he would say, "Hey, you know, when you send this out, how come you aren't just sending them directly to here doing this?" And I say, "Man, because I didn't even know that was possible. Like I didn't know I could send them there or should send them there or how to send them there. So share that." And then, you know, he had, this is it, right? He had some programs and I bought into his programs. You know, we would go to events and he would have his own event like the day before the main conference started. And I would get into that room. And I was in his Facebook group for his paid clients. I noticed that the other people in the Facebook groups, in that actual Facebook group, were the people that owned a lot of the company's software that I was actually using. So, you know, shout out to Jermaine Griggs. Like, you have to get around people that are where you want to go. That's the shortcut. People always say there's no shortcut in life. There's a shortcut in business. And that's getting with somebody that's already been down that path that can say, "Do this because I know it works. Don't do that because I've tried it and it failed. And now you need to reach the next level."
Right. And see, that's the thing as well. When we talk about mentorship, most of the time people just expect you to give them something. But listen, you got to invest into that person to let them know that you are worth their time, because that's our most valuable asset, our time. And second is our energy, right? It might be, you know, 1A, 1B. But if you don't invest into that person, there's, especially when you go to these larger conferences, you know, ClickFunnels, even TSP, 600 people is not anything that's small. You know, ClickFunnels, 10X, all these things. And you want to meet the Damon Johns, you want to meet the Grant Cardones or the Russell Brunsons. They have these programs for a reason, because they want to see who is serious, right? Who really wants to level up. And it's gonna be uncomfortable spending that 2,500 or whatever else that it is that you're investing, but you got to see it as an investment, because otherwise you go back home, you're gonna get right back into that same silo, and you're like, "Oh man, don't nobody want to mentor me. That's why I can't make it." Okay, well, they told you here's what it is because they had to invest time or money to get the knowledge that they got. You know, same thing with you and TSP. You just said it right there. I found a guy and I had to invest into him, and that allowed me to speed up my learning curve. So I love that. I love it. Tell me about what's been a challenge that you've had over the last 2 years that, or even 3 years, you know, what's been a challenge that you didn't foresee, but then how did you come out of it, and something that you took away from that challenge?
That's a great question. So when we talk about challenges, let me see, over the last 2 or 3 years, I probably would say for us, like one of the challenges I think a lot of business owners face are building team and finding the right team members and how do you develop that team. So that's something that we had to learn. We had to get, you know, a lot better at. And I think it's always a work in progress. It's never a thing like this totally done right. You're always trying to create a culture and build it better. You're always trying to create systems and build them better. And
Let me just ask, is most of your team virtual or in office?
Mostly in office, but it's a mix. We got some virtual folks too.
Okay.
Right. But I think, you know, early on when we first started kind of bringing on, like, you know, staff and real team, I was under the impression that hey, these people we bring on, they're going to be with us forever. It's going to be amazing. And, 30 years from now, we'll look back and look at how we grew the company and they'll be in a totally different place. But that's not how any of this works. Most of the time, it takes a few people to find the right person. And I think early on, as you develop and as kind of people come in and out of your business, you develop as a better leader, because there are a lot of things you'll realize, okay, I could have done this better. When they came on, I could have onboarded them better. I could have trained them or done this or sat down and spent more time better. And you also become better at discerning who the correct people are to bring in anyway and who they are not. And creating systems or processes so that you do a better job of screening out the wrong people, inviting in the right people. And part of that is cultural fit. Part of that is your hiring process. But a lot of that, right? Part of that is like I said, we had to get, again, invest in consultants, and we have an HR consultant, Delmar Johnson, HR brain for hire, that we brought in when we were moving everybody from 1099 to W-2. And we had to say, hey, Delmar, come in and set us up. We're willing to pay you to set us up, to make sure it's set up correctly, to make sure we got everything in place the way it should be, to have you on the phone and say, hey, whenever anything arises, we can just give you a quick phone call and get advice on the exact things to do. And that gives us peace of mind and comfort. But it's been a huge learning process. I think for most businesses, once they begin to scale and grow, like that's one of the big steps of, like you talked about, right? Like most of us are just self-employed. Basically, we trade in one job for another job. But if we want to move and become real business owners and then move out of that and become real CEOs and then real investors, right, through that actual process, it all hinges on building teams, being able to build systems, and getting your business to operate and run even when you're not in front of it.
Right. There's so much. I love that. I love it. Tell me, what's the best book that you've read in the last year, 2 years? A lot of the times, and don't say Think and Grow Rich, and you can't say Think and Grow Rich or Rich Dad Poor Dad, because those are ones that everybody says. And so I want to hear something different. I want to learn something new.
Sure. So one of my probably favorites over the last year is a book I read written by 2 Navy SEALs called Extreme Ownership.
Okay.
And it talks, it's funny because I heard about it maybe like 3 years ago, and I got it, and I'm like a book guy. So whenever I hear something, I buy the book. So that means I got like a big stack of books.
Is
like,
audio books reading?
Nah, not in my world. Not in my world.
We gonna spin past that, but it's
I need that physical book so I'm highlighting it, I'm folding pages, I'm dog end pages, I'm doing the whole thing. I need to be able to go back to it later on and just flip through and look where the highlights at, and then capture that again. So yeah, not that. What I say, audio books are great for me when I'm tired and I can't sleep and I need to get rest. That monotone voice put me to sleep, but.
I got you. All right. That's for another discussion. What have you done? We'll go into that. I got a lot of arguments about it, but go ahead. Extreme ownership.
Extreme ownership is great, and it talks about how in the field of combat they had to level up and just kind of take ownership as leaders, right, of everything that kind of happens, and they kind of apply it to business as well. So I thought that was a great book. And just for your listeners, I'll drop another. My favorite of all time. I always talk about it, and most people have not read it. Is the story of, it's the autobiography of John H. Johnson from Johnson Publications. And it's called like Against the Odds or something close to that. But I'm always referencing it. Johnson Publications published Ebony Magazine, Jet Magazine, and Fashion Fair Cosmetics. He was one of the country's richest men, when he was alive, extremely successful. But the thing is, he came from the dirt banks of the Mississippi River in Arkansas, from extreme poverty. His community didn't even have a high school. They just went up to 8th grade. And his mom, right, it was a year between him graduating 8th grade and then moving to Chicago, where they wanted to move to because he had to get the money together. So he actually repeated 8th grade, even though he passed, just to keep out of trouble, just so he wouldn't be in the streets. So to move from extreme poverty to one of, America's richest men, definitely one of the greatest visionaries of our time, definitely self-made, just a very inspiring story. And once I read that, I said, if he can do what he did, I have no excuse not to be successful.
Right. No, I love it. There it is right there. We got 2 nuggets, definitely extreme ownership. And I love it because you've been talking about the ownership the whole time. Like you said, with one of the challenges, asking myself, okay, could I have onboarded better? Could I have trained better? Could I have, indoctrinated them to my culture better? So all those things, when you take ownership, right, then your business is going to be a lot more successful. And that's what I think people got to get out of it. So there's somebody in here right now, and I know because I'm inspired by you, your body of work, and your vision for where you will be in the next 3 to 5 years and counting. For somebody else that's listening to you right now, Lamar, and they're saying, you know what, he did it, I love it, but I don't know if I'm strong enough, if I'm smart enough, if I have enough resources or enough capital to be able to get to some of these conferences. What do you say to that person?
I say make it happen. And that ain't like a sexy thing or nothing like that to say, but make it happen. What I find is that most people just don't have enough grit in their businesses, and they just don't make it happen. Because the truth is, I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. The truth is that you probably could hustle your way up to 6 figures if you just like got out and hustled. I don't care what you're selling or what you're doing. If you literally could hustle, it'll be hard work, but you literally probably could hustle your way up to 6 figures. Now you ain't gonna be able to grow to 7 and 8 like that, but you literally could make money just by getting out. Just by doing calls, just by, picking up the phone, by talking to people, by going to networking events, shaking hands, kissing babies, whatever you need to do to get your product or service to the marketplace, you could do it. What most people do is they sit and they wait, right? And they get on Facebook a little bit, they get on Instagram a little bit, and they're waiting for opportunities. Or what they're waiting for is the magic button. I see that Casanova was successful. Casanova, tell me the one thing that you did that allowed you to be successful.
Right.
And what you're going to say is, man, it wasn't one thing. It was like this body of work over 5-10 years. And all these no's that I got that led to, the yes, further down the line. And what I tell most people is that if it takes 20 steps for you to be successful, like you don't get an award if you quit at step 5 or step 8. If it takes 20 steps, it's going to take 20. The only thing you can do is try to get through those first 19 as fast as possible. So what I tell people is that don't get caught in perfectionism. Done is better than perfect. You have to launch whatever you got to get. I talked about launch, analyze, optimize before. You got to launch it, get out the door, analyze it, optimize it, and keep going. A good friend of mine, Chris Davis, over at Active Campaign, we had him at the first TSP Live from the stage. He said, your idea is not validated until somebody buys it.
Right.
And I want to repeat that. Your idea is not validated until somebody buys it. So you being in love with your product means nothing. Your family being in love with your product and service means nothing. It's not validated until you get it into the marketplace, until somebody purchases and buys it. Then once they buy it, you analyze it, you optimize it, and you figure out how to sell more of what you're already doing, how to sell more to the customers that are already coming to you, spending money with you, and how can I really begin to take this thing to the next level through systems, through people, and the biggest thing, right, is how can I lift up and elevate my mindset? Because your mindset, your self-limiting beliefs, the lies that you tell yourself about yourself are the number one detractor and thing that'll hold your business back.
There you have it, people. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be said. And this is why I was so excited to get Mr. Tyler on this call today. I pray that you just take action after hearing what he has to say. This has been everything for me, and I really, really appreciate your time. For anybody out there that wants to connect with you even more, where can they find you at?
Yep, you need to find us in the hottest group for entrepreneurs. That is Traffic, Sales, and Profit with Lamar Tyler on Facebook. Totally free group to enter. Every week people come in and they say, man, this group is different, right? Every single week, and I want it to be different for you. We definitely can have an impact on your life. And then I want you to come out to our 2-day deep dive hands-on sales and marketing boot camp, Traffic, Sales, and Profit Live. You can get more information at that at www.tsp for Traffic, Sales, and Profit, tsplive.tickets.com.
And I believe it was that June 14th through the 16th?
Yep, June 14th and 15th, right? That Friday and Saturday, we go from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. We get it all in 2 days. When I tell you that the people we got sitting in the audience are better than the people that most people get on their stages. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the level of success that's dripping through here, the level of excellence. We got, people that are crushing it, that are willing to talk, right? They ain't bougie. They ain't setting themselves aside. They're willing to talk and share with beginning business owners. They want to network and meet other people in the same lane as them so they can figure out how can we build this thing together and be better business owners.
There you have it. Well, I want to be the first one to kick off the thank you train and say thank you, Mr. Lamar Tyler. We really appreciate your time. You coming to share all this wealth of information with us. And we look forward to seeing you at the TSP Live. For anybody who does go and check it out, make sure you go up to him and let him know that you heard him on the show. And,
yes.
And that was the starting point for them taking action, or for you taking action in your business. So thanks again. And we look forward to having you on the show again.
Sure, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here, right, to be introduced to DreamNation. I look forward to being back.
Sounds good. That's the episode for today. Let me know if you got any value out of this, if you liked anything about it. Reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter, any of the social media networks. And, of course, leave me a review, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you're hearing this at. I would love to have a review to show what you're getting out of this. Is there anything that I could do better? Is there any way that I can add more value to you? So hopefully you all take some action today. That's my show. I love you all. Be great. But remember, we must take action.